Isn't it, Pierre? Pierre has said that that the data doesn't flow on rainbows, and therefore we are going now to speak about infrastructure, which is very important. And I would like to introduce you where the Chief Innovation Officer from Gaia-X ASBL. So everybody knows Pierre. He's an amazing engineer. He's a very smart engineer, but what he really likes is to the ballet and to make reparation in the roof, isn't it, Pierre? So thank you very much, and welcome to the infrastructure session.
Thank you very much. I don't know how many people we still have taking coffees, so maybe we can also grab those people and ask them to join this very interesting panel on the infrastructure. As it was said before, I'm a strong believer that data doesn't flow on rainbow. And I'm delighted to have with me 4 speakers, that with Leonardo remotely, that will present the ecosystem infrastructure. So please join me on stage. In the order, we have Alban, Zigor, Leonardo, Mauro, and Oriol. Leonardo, hi.
Hi.
I'm across the city. I will take that one there. And without further ado, I will ask maybe to introduce yourself in 1 or 2 quick sentences. Then we will have a Q&A. We will start with general question about ecosystem, interoperability, and infrastructure in Europe, and then we will deep dive into the relevance of Gaia-X for that. And at the end, we are also very happy to take questions from the audience if you have any. Thanks. So first.
I can start, yeah. I'm Zigor Gaubeca. I'm the CIO of Grupo Aire, and we are a cloud service provider in Spain and Portugal. And I'm really pleased to be there.
Hi everyone, I'm Alban Schmutz. So something is missing here. So as I'm representing also CISPE, which is the Association of Cloud Infrastructure Services Providers in Europe, and chairing the Policy Rules Committee of Gaia-X in the name of CISPE, and I'm also CEO of Cloud Data Engine, which is a company working on automation of compliance.
Hi everyone, I'm Mauro Brambilla. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Dynamo. Dynamo is a project that is going to federate the cloud service provider within Europe to create an alternative to the hyperscaler from the US.
Hello everyone, I'm Oriol Izquierdo, delivery lead in the systems Iberia, and also I'm having the relationships for delivery internationally for Dataspaces, and we are at the end an international company with international Dataspace team as well.
Well, thank you very much. I'm super happy that we have here on the Dataspace event, Gaia-X event, cloud providers on stage or representing ecosystem of cloud providers. My first question will be to Leonardo and Zigor. What type of partnership or business model do you see as the most effective for fostering cross-provider infrastructure in Europe?
We foresee some interesting partnerships, like, for example, with different consortiums. It's really important to be connected with different consortiums and create this ecosystem. The other one would be the private infrastructure, public-private infrastructure investments. From my point of view, it's really important to be close to the public sector, because it's one of the sectors that can push this initiative, and it's really important for that, and create different associations too with some hyperscalers, because we are competing with them, but it's important to be close to them and know what they are doing and how can they work with us, with our rules.
Zigor, would like to react on that?
Yeah, about the hyperscaler, we have a slightly different point of view, because we are trying to create a pure European federation. And we think that the federation is the best way to work together. Federation means to have the opportunity to merge the forces of each one, so everyone is able and capable to resell the infrastructure of another CSP. So for instance, instead of building or investing a lot of money, creating a new data center in other countries within Europe, you can leverage the one that is one of your competitor, that in our model is joining forces in order to create a bigger portfolio and being able to compete with the hyperscalers.
May I
Maybe
add some?
Leonardo, yes,
yeah, I
please.
think
Yeah, so by the way, I skipped my introduction. So I'm Executive Director at Topics, and in Gaia-X, I'm a board member. And within the Fulcrum project, I'm the president of one of the two units, let's say, the Intercloud Exchange Foundation. So the Fulcrum project aims at creating a real cloud federation. That means that I subscribe to the, let's say, the federation model. So if you talk about business model, I think the federation is the only viable one. I mean, if you're going to respond to the market concentration with some centralized model, this will certainly fail, and is not, by the way, suited to the economic structure of Europe, which is a diverse one. So the federation is not only a technical model, it's a governance and economic model, which could still give the participants a participation without surrendering control, and let's say guaranteeing what we call now, probably overused word, sovereignty, but without isolation. So the key thing is that this federation should be based on some real concrete technology. So if we stay in the legal and commercial side, this will be probably some short-term mitigation, but it won't have a long-term viability. So we have to start producing again technology, which means producing software and merging infrastructure, so enabling something which is solid and resilient. And that can also operate and interoperate with legacy and existing hyperscalers models. So I don't subscribe to this, let's say, kind of war, whatever, commercial or technical with the hyperscalers. There's too much legacy. We are lagging, but we can create a viable economic position at the edge, which is one of the characteristics of Europe. So I think that a viable model should be a flexible one, open one, solidly based on technology, leveraging, but we'll talk about this later on, trust frameworks, because trust frameworks are what is a necessary component in a federated model, by the way. And we can preserve what is the most precious thing, which is the last commercial mile of existing providers. So avoiding to create, I would say, concentrated champions that would but wouldn't change the market, so would even raise barriers for SMEs. So we have to enable existing investment and leveraging the capillary presence of small to medium providers, and let them talk and being able to compete or collaborate with larger and bigger sizes players in the market.
If I may, I just want to maybe add three things here, as I have been, I would say, at the starting point of Gaia-X with some of the people still in the room today, both back end of 2019. Here what we are discussing is that the foundation of Gaia-X was to have an open market for cloud services in Europe. And what we are discussing here is how to handle this, and the question we tried to deal with at the time was to say, how can we reshape the market to be able to have it more open, to give the ability for European players to create more value and to get more value in Europe than overseas already at the time. And what we've seen in between, I think it's very interesting, is that now, I would say the trust framework is on the ground, and we are able to build on what Gaia-X has been building over the years on this, and giving a reality of the ability from coming from a, I would say, centralized model to something that can go to decentralization, and which is, I would say, one of the paths for Europe, or maybe the only path for Europe, against centralization. And I think it's something very important when we discuss sovereignty, and when we discuss ability of people to make their own decision and to choose their providers, to have this possibility to have a various number of providers on the field. So that's the first thing. I think this is a historical view of Gaia-X, what we are discussing today. Second thing is to have this to make this possible. We also started to discuss what were the European values that we put in the frame of not today what is named the conformity document, but which is a policy rules committee, which I'm lucky enough to co-chair today. I think this is very important to have all of our values there and to be able to control them. And I think the presentation of Christoph Trandl earlier was very interesting on this, saying automation for compliance, and we have to verify everything. I think this is very important. And here, as I'm also speaking for CISPE, CISPE made already the choice, I would say more than 2 years ago, to have the first catalog of cloud services reaching level 1, 2, and 3 for more than 15 providers already at the time, and demonstrating this on the field. And now we are going on the next stage on automation. And and what we have been doing here as CEO of Cloud Data Engine is to make this possible on the automation of all this for CISPE, as we are delivering this for CISPE and make this possible. And all the ecosystem are able to do this today. And third, I will stop here for this question. Also, CISPE made the choice to invest, I would say, as a trade association. And for all those who know what is a trade association is, investment for a trade association is something complicated. So CISPE made the choice to invest 1 million euros within a Fulcrum project, which Leonardo has been mentioning, exactly to go that route of decentralization in the interest of the cloud providers in Europe and in the interest of the customers. And I think it's just showing that what we had in mind years ago is getting steam, and that's, I think, it's a very interesting moment.
If I may add something, I agree with what you said here, and I would like to go back at the beginning of the answer and also at the beginning of the whole Dataspace movement with one reflection that it's maybe one may think that it is one of the drivers for Dataspaces, which was the 2015 Microsoft trial with data hosted in Europe, and also with the hyperscalers topic that brought up also your answer. I think it was very interesting. There are not only US hyperscalers. We also have hyperscalers and companies working with European hyperscalers in a federated way. And I just wanted to remind this, and for instance, in the systems we have OTC, which is our own public cloud, that it is not USA owned. And we are working and creating products in a federated manner in this cloud. And it's just to remind ourselves that we can be more independent in the technology point of view, that now we have a huge campaign from the European Commission, if we look around. And that was to end up. Yeah.
I would like to point something about that, because I'm really, really aware about that. It's really important to have a framework and to have a European sovereignty about the transparency. We need transparency, we need security, but the customers, they elect their providers. So it's really important to know that what wants the customer and how to approach to do that market and achieve the customer needs, because sometimes we are only thinking about our own sovereignty, but they need different things. So it's really important to be hybrid, to be connected with different ones and to speak with them, and different, as you say, hyperscalers or big companies in Europe and China and whatever. And we have a really open vision about that. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a full panel discussion. I'm very happy about that. You've mentioned a few words I took notes. Public-private tenders, hyperscalers, of course. Sovereignty was a keyword that you use quite often. Producing software and technology, I like that a lot, of course. Open play in Europe, European values, a lot of values around Europe. So my next question will be, how do you see the public institution and this partnership, public-private with public funders, creating maybe an incentive or mandating the adoption of Gaia-X standards? And which policy or industry move will you see most likely to accelerate the adoption of federated cloud and data infrastructure in Europe? And I will start with Mauro.
So thank you. I think that from the European point of view, it will be a good thing if there will be a kind of detaxation on the companies that are investing in sovereign technologies within Europe, and also without infringing any law, especially for the public purchase officer, to create a rule that first buy European, if you don't buy European, justify. So not impose, but justify, because many times there are some technology choices that could be made European one, such as collaboration, such as email, several ones, okay? And I think that from the European tender legislation, we can create a big impact on the market.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and one of the things, or more important things from my point of view, is that they create education, awareness about what we are doing, because the citizens and the customers, they don't know about they don't care about they use the technology, so it's really important to be there, to explain, to educate all the institutions and all the companies that what we are doing and what we're trying to do, and about the transparency from my point of view is the most important, and the security.
So maybe you can react to the next question then. How does your company, now that we have established a bit the situation in Europe and your point of view, how does your company approach the cross-cloud interoperability? And how do you solve or mitigate this risk of fragmentation? How do you see Gaia-X maybe helping with that regards to avoid this fragmentation of cloud?
Maybe I will take the angle of the previous questions to answer this one. I think it's quite interesting. I think as an ecosystem within Gaia-X, we have been working on, I would say, what should be the rules amongst ourselves to work properly and to have it more open and working it, I would say, at scale between providers and users. That's the realm of Gaia-X. And one thing institutions should be able to do and are not doing today is just, I would say, reference the work of Gaia-X, saying, okay, this should be what you have to fulfill when you are answering public RFPs or things like that. I think this is very important. And again, as CISPE, we have been working on the implementation of European regulation at, I would say, market level with codes of conduct or various tools for compliance. And I think this is important to have all this included and to ask institutions to be coherent here. And to answer your, I would say, specific question on how, I would say, a company can create value here. So here I'm changing hat and taking the one of Cloud Data Engine. And what we have been doing also with CISPE is being able to instantiate the automation of compliance, checking real-time monitoring of the compliance of the providers, the services offerings on the cloud market, on the data sharing market, etc., is something that creates value, and we create more and more value, since if we want to go at scale for, I would say, sharing data, exchanging data, we need to be able to embed the checks of the rules with the data to do it automatically. Otherwise, we will not scale. And we will have the same kind of issues we had in the past with, I would say, ecosystems of suppliers with thousands of them working for a big one, etc., and where you have a fail in the production line, in the conception line, etc. So we need to be more, I would say, smooth here, and that's a real added value for the ecosystem, and the added value for us as a company is to be able to, I would say, give the toolings to be able to do so.
Maybe
Oriol, I add something, Pierre?
Yeah, I was going to give you the floor indeed, Leonardo and Oriol later. Leonardo first?
Yeah, so I think that this is a crucial thing, because I guess you've discussed this and you will discuss it even further. And there is this picture that is becoming clearer and clearer even in Gaia-X, and the difference between the compatibility and the compliance, which is a crucial thing in the sense that you have a framework which enables true compatibility, as Alban said, the automation of some rules, so that you are in the position to describe in a machine-readable and machine-understandable way services and their related adherence to certification standards and code of conduct. And then you can fill this container with the content which is about compliance. So the set of rules that a certain domain, industry, or whatever sets for a specific scope. And there, I think that it's important to leave the freedom to different domains to set their own rules, because you cannot impose, otherwise the risk that you're discarded and not adopted, by leveraging a very strong position in the technical compatibility area. So that, of course, is not a decision, is not a nice to have. A trust framework is a must-have in a federated structure. And again, the federated structure is the only way, and probably is what institutions should incentivize, because is the only way to prevent falling again in the centralized model. So even if you say favors a few companies, even European, okay, and you make them very big, in some years from now you will have the same exact problem, because sovereignty is very much held by a distributed governance and a large participation in the market. So a very diverse ecosystem is very resilient, very, very robust. A very concentrated one is a very risky one. So the trust framework is the unleasher of this robust infrastructural solution to what would accommodate every application. And Dataspace for cloud providers is an application, of course, okay? You could have different ones, very specific one, but also very large domain. So the trust framework in the compatible and compliance way to read it is the unleasher of a federated model, which is the only viable way to come up with the original probably mission of Gaia-X, as Alban mentioned.
So I really like the point of view of the domains that you brought now on the table, and I think this is really important. And I also think that it's important that these domains do not create new standards, because we have a lot of standards existing. And we also would need to do an effort on getting and bringing the ones that we have together and implementing them and not creating new ones. Because for the design thinkers here in the audience, it's normally when you create something, a process of a diamond, that you amplify the scope and then you narrow down. So we have amplified a lot the scope in some regards, in some we still have to do, but regarding standardization and even interoperability, for instance, the trust framework you were mentioning now, it's a perfect example for narrowing it down in the legal aspect, for credentials, for identification. But when it comes to domains, when it comes to semantic interoperability, for instance, standardization, we have, if we get one sector, healthcare, we have a lot of standards that can be used, and we need to sit with the domains to decide which one we use, but not to create more. And in the telco sector, we have worked together with Entity Communications and the University of Tokyo and Fujitsu on a paper with IDSA on this specific topic that it's very interesting from the telco point of view.
If I may add something, I totally agree on what the colleagues are saying. And especially linking to what the Gaia-X CTO was saying 1 hour ago about trust. I think that Gaia-X is very capable and should leverage the trust that is gaining and the framework that is building in order to delegate for some domain, some bodies, such as ENISA, such as DORA, whatever, or also for expanding different geographies to create the proper framework and then delegate to those bodies for the peculiarities of those vertical markets. This is a decentralized mode, and I think it will have the centrality and of Gaia-X itself.
Maybe going to the next question, and I will ask with you, Zigor. We've talked about Gaia-X Trust Framework. Thank you very much for mentioning that several times now. So I see that you are all convinced about its value. Could you give us an example of how you integrate it, or maybe the Trust Framework totally, maybe part of the Gaia-X specification into product or services that you are delivering today?
Yeah, what we are including in our portfolio, no, are you saying? Yeah, we are part of the, we have a clearinghouse, and we have some projects that the people is coming to us to ask about the what's this and how can they include this clearinghouse to their services. We have our own cloud service, and it's we are including or trying to include more services in that clearinghouse, and to be more interoperable with different cloud services from different operators or cloud service providers in Spain and Portugal, and we are working on that. It's a bit early, no, because we are seeing some traction in some projects, but we are trying to evangelize, no, to the customers, and trying to say, no, what the benefits, no, from Gaia-X, and to be Gaia-X compliant. But we have to do more, I think, than in the next coming years, and we're trying to explain that to our customers and institutions. Yeah.
Thanks for the question. So there are various things in the trust where we are creating value out of. So I think Ulrich presented this morning that CISPE has its own clearinghouse, and as Cloud Data Engine, we are happy to operate this clearinghouse. So as Cloud Data Engine, we made the choice not to, have a Cloud Data Engine clearinghouse per se, but we are happy to operate third-party clearinghouses as we have the knowledge to do so. And I think our role is, to be behind the scene and not to, take the light here. But we can provide this to anyone who wants this in the room if you want. First thing. Second thing, as I mentioned already, we have already developed with CISPE a catalog of more than 1,000 located services of cloud services. So I think this is very, very important, and it's probably the biggest catalog of services available in the Gaia-X realm, respecting the Gaia-X trust frameworks, in the way of implementing it, but also the services themselves, with label 1, 2, and 3 services. So I think it's important, and only a bit less than half of the members of CISPE participated to this until now, and as the board of CISPE made the decision that we target to have all of the members of CISPE declaring services within this catalog, possibly by the beginning of the summer, but at least by the end of the year. So I think this is very important. So we are creating value here. And third point where Cloud Data Engine is creating value is that this trust framework, we are not using it only for cloud services, which was, I think, one thing, but we are also working in other areas. And for example, we are working on the development of the Dataspace for AI for the European Defense, for the European Defense Agency. as cloud data engine together with Soprasteria and CA. And to develop this, and we are using the Gaia-X Trust Framework as well, which is something which is not directly related to cloud services per se. So I think this is quite interesting to see the variety of things we are able to do based on the Gaia-X Trust Framework.
In Dynamo, we have built a marketplace, and we have built the onboarding process 100% in Gaia-X Digital Clearinghouse. This means that any legal entity that become part of Dynamo create through Dynamo the verifiable credential through Aruba Digital Clearinghouse. Also, it will sign all the declaration by EADA's signature, again automatically into the Gaia-X Digital Clearinghouse from Aruba. And all the services that are being published into the Dynamo marketplace are being going through the verifiable credential creation through the digital clearinghouse. So this means that each service is declared the same way, and we have the verifiable credential. So again, a matter of trust for the end customer that can take some informed decision on what he's doing.
So from the system side, we are strongly believers on data spaces, Gaia-X, Trust Framework, and we even had the first digital clearing house node existing. And on top of this, we have a product called Trust and Participate that we have the product owner that we brought here in the stand there. So if someone is interested, just can go there and we can talk about it. And more than this, I would also like to focus on what you brought up about evangelization, because I think that also brings two of the previous topics. First, what the policymakers can do, and also the domain, the business part. So one issue that we face is the diverse levels of maturity in the different sectors that enable you to have one conversation or another. And if you go to someone and talk about Gaia-X, maybe they think it's a Pokemon, like the Pokemon thing that you have here. Or maybe no, they are experts. And this complicates a bit, make it more complex, because the business models, linking into the business models that we're talking, are more concept that maybe we can even call federated business model, which is a business model of different partners. It's not only a single company business model. For sure, depending on the sector, may have a driver like OEM in automotive, for instance, but at the end is like an ecosystem. So I think this evangelization part is really important, and you can go to the panel to hear about the Trust and Participate for sure.
Thank you very much. I know that Leonardo also you are working with Gaia-X Trust Framework and the Clearinghouse.
Yeah, sure. Of course, by working together with both the CDE, the Cloud Data Engine, and of course being supported by the precious work of CISPE, we also believe that the trust framework of Gaia-X is an enabler of trust in two senses, I would say, because you have trust between and among the providers. So in order to share in infrastructure, you need, of course, trust. So you need to know what kind of services you might access or benefit from. But of course, this all is done because you want to enlarge the market footprint of the provider, especially the small and medium ones. And of course, when they face their customers, if they can show and to the customers and to their let's say other providers, they have some trusted services, so kind of verifiable services. This is a market value for them. Okay, so this is the crucial enabler for the overall picture. I mean, we are not doing. Yes, okay, we're doing the federation because of the sovereignty and the autonomy, and okay, but this comes from a market share. and from a market presence. And the market presence, as it was already said, it depends on a choice from a customer. Okay, so you cannot mandate the choice of a customer. And customers choose when they feel reassured and comfortable with the market offer. So the trust that you put in the services through a trust framework is a market enabler in the first place. So that's why, especially at Fulcrum, we are working together with CDE, together with CISPE, in order to implement trusted services, so to make brokering for trusted services. And that's the value of it.
I like very much your last sentence of Gaia-X Trust Framework as an enabler as a market enabler. That's nice. We have here a panel about cloud infrastructure, but we know that we talk also about data spaces, and we have not mentioned data spaces, I think, a single time since now. So maybe an unscripted question for you. How do you see the relation between everything that we've talked together, the market adoption, the choice of the customers, with the relation with data spaces? So the data space governance authority, for example, and how they see this question of sovereignty when they need to select infrastructure players. Anyone would like to take that question first? Okay, Alban.
I can take this one. I think it's pretty simple. Data are not on rainbows. So data spaces need infrastructure to run.
Thank you.
So that's the first thing. So if you want to have data spaces at scales, you need to have infrastructure underneath that are able to scale. And if you want to have a decentralized way of exchanging data, you will also have to be able to handle decentralized infrastructure. So that said, so the relationship between infrastructure and data spaces should be very strong. And but to answer your question, so speaking from I would say, provider point of view, the takeoff of data spaces is, I would say, slow, since RFPs mentioning the Gaia-X Trust Framework today are not enough. And I'm happy that Ulrich mentioned earlier this morning that the Gaia-X board decided to go strong on this in the future. So since providers will be able to give, to fulfill the requirements for data spaces, and that's very important. On the relationship with, I would say, governance authorities, so whatever the kind of authorities it is, it can be a single company, a group of companies, whatever, to decide rules. You should have the infrastructure to be able to rely on them, and you have to have the rules to be able to deploy the workloads from what decision it is to whatever, how it applies. And where decentralization is very important. And that's why projects like Fulcrum we are working with, and we already mentioned here, are very important to have that granularity. And in between, the work we have been doing on automation is very, very key and sensitive. I would add one last thing. So I'm also leading I would say, a data space, but for infrastructure. So I would say infrastructure providers also have data to share amongst themselves. And I think this is interesting. And also there is an angle here. So if anyone here wants to join that data space on infrastructure, you'll also be welcome, since this is also an enabling data space for other data spaces to work more properly.
Yeah, I agree for sure on what you are saying. Leonardo and myself are working on the infrastructure sounding board, and several times we pointed out that several times also in Gaia-X there is a lot of hype in data spaces, but data spaces needs infrastructure. So I fully agree on what you're saying. So we need to work together from the interoperability point of view, of course. We need to work also with the data connectors themselves in order to connect the infrastructure to the data spaces. We need to work on the trust framework on the data spaces themselves, because at the end of the day, there is the need of trust on sharing data or your own company without thinking, oh, maybe someone is going to steal my intellectual properties and so on and so forth. And speaking about, you mentioned Fulcrum. Speaking about interoperability, we have launched with Ionos and Aruba the SECA project. SECA is a Security European Cloud APIs, and we are working together in providing these APIs as an open source community, working from bottom up, not top down. And we are inviting all of you to work with us on building a common secure and sovereign European cloud APIs in order to, with Fulcrum and other initiatives, to more and more having the interoperabilities within all the data spaces and the infrastructures.
And then, because we are running a bit out of time, then Oriol, Zigor, Leonardo, if you would like to give final words.
Okay, then I will be quick. Just to add that regarding infrastructure, we have a product called Build and Operate that is just focused on the infrastructure of the data space itself. That goes along with other products that we have that maybe Trust and Participate for the Gaia-X Trust Framework and the Digital Clearinghouse. And I will just keep it short.
Yeah, I only wanted to point out one thing, that it's sometimes customers think about their data space as in all the Europe is one data space. No? So sometimes we have to explain that depends on the use cases, depends on the latency, and depends on a lot of things on infrastructure. It's really important to explain that cases, no, because sometimes the customers they don't have no clear about what's this. And yes, you have the compliance, you have the GDPR, you have the security, but that thing is really, really important to explain, yeah.
Thank you very much. Leonardo, one last word?
I think that it's clear that infrastructure in general, and I would include the trust framework in the infrastructural part, in the sense that is based on software, it must be run on machine, and it must be tackled by a technician. So that is important and crucial in order to make all what we wish to happen. So I think that the federated model, the interoperable model, powered by trust, is what we need in order to spur and to foster a European market for cloud services.
Well, thank you very much. I hope that you like and you've learned some insight from those excellent experts here on the panel about cloud infrastructure and how does it relate to data spaces. If you have any question already, sorry, we are running out of time, but feel free to reach out to them. I think we will have breaks during the days. And with that, I wish you a good end of the summit.